Khabib Nurmagomedov, the Eagle, one of the greatest of all time, is being busted by the Russian government for tax evasion potentially. It is said in reports that he owes the Russian government nearly $3.3 million. And this has tons of people speculating what's happening, what's going on, and what is Khabib Nurmagomedov going to do about this entire situation. It even has some people claiming that this is how he's going to come back and fight again in the UFC. And before we go off in this kind of preposterous realm of thinking, let's just take a step back. Let's really think about things before we go absolutely crazy. Guys, if you wouldn't mind, before I get into the bulk of the video, to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps with the algorithm and helps grow the channel. So let's not pretend that we know anything about the Russian tax system. Unless you actually live there, you have no clue, and neither do I. But what I do know is that he apparently owes $3.3 million. And a lot of people are making this out to be this huge deal, that his assets are being seized, his bank accounts are going to be seized, and it's going to be so bad that he's going to have to come back to the UFC and fight again. This very well could be the case, but I sincerely doubt that anything is going to bring Khabib back to fight in the UFC octagon. He made a promise to his family, he made a promise to his mother that he's never going to fight again, and he has kept that promise. We are now going on 4 years of that promise being kept. So I don't see a scenario where Khabib comes back. Now, all of you are like, oh, he's broke, he's not going to have anything for his family, all these things. Listen, Khabib's net worth is like $50 million. He has tons of assets, he has tons of businesses, he has tons of different things. In the worst case scenario, Khabib could probably just sell off some of those assets to repay this tax, assuming he even owes it, right? We're making a big assumption that this $3.3 million that he owes is actually true, right? That's a big assumption. Governments make mistakes all the time. I would assume that the Russian government right now is probably hurting financially in some way, shape, or form. So they might be embellishing that figure in a lot. You know, with all of Khabib's assets and income and all these other kind of things, it could be errors. There could be a lot of things going on here. But ultimately, if he does owe the $3.3 million, I guarantee you he would sooner sell off some of those assets to pay off that tax debt than to break his promise to his mother and go fight again in the UFC. I guarantee you that's what he thinks and what he feels. Now, the real question is, this $3.3 million, what does it boil down to? Again, none of us know. We're simply speculating because there is a huge difference. Again, we're talking about Russia, right? But if we were to take sort of a Western approach to this, how he deals with this and how this is handled would probably have a lot to do with, you know, how and why he owes that much money, right? If he owes $3.3 million and this is like back taxes that he tried to avoid, he's probably going to be dealing with penalties, probably dealing with interest, probably dealing with all of these issues. You know, maybe the government will threaten to seize some of his assets or, you know, take money out of his bank accounts, different things like that. If it's one of these things where he just made, you know, $6 million this year and the government's taxing half of it, he very well could just be, you know, this just could be an income tax thing. And if you look at that, you know, usually if it's within the first few months, the government's fairly lenient. It's when it becomes, again, I'm talking about Western government. I don't know how Russia would operate in this situation, right? But not only that, Khabib is a celebrity. You know, he represents the country really well. All of these type of things. So, you know, I don't think it's going to be one of these things where he's going to get his assets seized and he's going to have to sell off all of his assets and he's going to be broke again. I know all you Khabib haters out there are absolutely wishing just doom and disaster on this guy. I know you are. You're a bunch of, you know, pricks in that sense. But when it really boils down to it, first of all, none of us really know what the hell is actually going on. We're only speculating based on a report on the internet that says he owes the Russian government $3.3 million in taxes, right? But we have no idea the nature of those taxes. Is it back taxes? Is it his taxes being filed incorrectly? Again, we don't know how the Russian system works. None of you do, unless you live there, right? So it's one of these things. Now, if and when it comes time to pay the Russian government, like I said before, really and truly, the only thing we need to know, the only thing we need to understand is that Khabib is not coming back to the octagon, no matter how much money he owes, right? He will sell off his assets and live a simple life before he breaks his promise to his mother. I guarantee you that is a fact. So, please, stop with the madness. The Russian government isn't seizing his assets. He's not becoming bankrupt. He's not going to jail. None of these other crazy things. You know, it's going to be just this simple situation where Khabib sells off a portion of the $50 million worth of assets and probably pays the government. If it's even that serious, right? It could just be he made $6 million and now he owes $3.3 million in taxes, right? And he has a grace period to pay. So all this speculation about Khabib, all of you wishing and praying on his downfall, it's just not going to happen because the guy is squeaky clean, right? I'm pretty sure everybody's gotten a letter from the government in their life, basically saying, hey, you owe us more money, right? Hey, you filed your taxes incorrectly, pay up. Hey, we want some more money, pay your taxes, right? And then if you're smart about it, you go and you kind of fight it and say, actually, we didn't make a mistake. You made the mistake, and here's why, and you show your work, and usually they go away. Again, Western country. I don't know how Russia works, right? We've all gotten that letter. Hey, you owe us more money. And what do? You pay it. And as long as you kind of go with the flow of things and do what you're supposed to do, you don't get into any trouble. So it's absolutely bonkers that everybody's wishing the downfall of Khabib. It just isn't going to happen. He's one of the greatest of all time. And he'll sort this out. And he's not coming back to the octagon because he promised his mother. And he's worth like $50 million. So this $3.3 million, like, you know, if his money's invested properly, it'll pay for that, right? So that's all for me today. I just wanted to give my commentary on that. I do have a background in finance, so I understand this a little bit. But again, the Russian system is different than the Western system. If we're talking about the Western system, this is kind of, it would be different. But I don't know how they come down on people over there if they don't pay their taxes. You never know. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.